Okay, this is a little bit sad today because this is our final masterclass. We've been running exactly a year in September. So thanks for bearing with me, and it's been great having you come along on this online journey. And I think we've learned a lot, and I've got files and files full of work, so I'm hoping that you've got quite a bit too. So for the final masterclass of this year on YouTube, because as you may know, if you've received emails or any kind of contact from me in the last few weeks, I'm moving all my online provision onto Patreon. So it's exactly the same system. There's a beginner's class and there's an advanced class, and you can sign up to it. You make a payment once a month and you get a tutorial, and then you get loads of added extras. So check it out. I'll put a link on this video just in case you haven't got any of my correspondence. You can go and have a look, and you can sign up month by month. You can sign up once and it will just keep sending you stuff until you stop. It's entirely up to you. You may want to do that. You may be rejoining my classes. I don't know, because we've got face-to-face starting back on the end of September, so I know that some of you will be restarting those with me. And then there's a very basic payment of £3 a month, and that'll just mean that you get the odd bit of correspondence from me, whether that's a photograph or a message or a video or an update as to what I'm doing. I'm starting an MA at the end of September, so there'll be lots of stuff going on, and to keep us going through the next few months. So join in if you fancy it. If not, I'll see you again soon, hopefully. And thanks for being with me through this pandemic. Okay, so I've just stuck a piece of this mixed media paper down, portrait, and I've put the masking tape around it. I'm going to do two simple landscapes for this last session, and the first one is going to be a red sky, and the second one is going to be a sort of yellow sky. So I'm just going to take the red, and I've wet the surface. I'm just seeing how well this mixed media paper takes watercolour, because so far I've used it for acrylic painting and some very basic watercolour pieces, but that's about it. So I'm just going to see how well it works, and it doesn't seem to be behaving too badly. I did expect it to behave a little bit more like blotting paper than watercolour paper, because it has not got that much texture to it. So the nice thing about watercolour paper is that it has a lot of texture. So I'm just adding more and more of this red tone. I'm using alizarin crimson and cadmium red, but you use whatever reds you want to use. And I'm going to put a bit of purple just to darken it up, just at the top, and just sort of blend it by going backwards and forwards across that sky. Okay, and then I think I'll leave it there. And one of the techniques I want to show you while it's still wet is how to lift a moon or a sun off. I've got a nail varnish pot here, which I've just painted my nails with, as you can see, and you can use coins, you can use anything that's got a flat surface, and all you do is you wrap some tissue around the end quite tight, because you do want it to be circular, and you can even tie it with a piece of sellotape around here or a piece of string, and then you literally just press it into the damp paper. Leave it flat, don't move it, because it will spread if it's moved, and wait for a little while and then lift, and there you have your sun or your moon, whatever you want it to be. And you can see that that's what's left on the paper, and I'm going to use now the rest of the paper just to mop up these corners like this. I'm just dabbing the edge of the paper onto those corners where this is called pooling. Don't do it too much because you will leave marks. Okay, we're going to leave that to dry. And the next one I'm going to do is going to be a yellow version. So I'm taking some clean water and a clean brush. I'm using a Chinese mop brush here. Again, I'm just going to wet the surface, working all the way across. Make sure you've got enough water on there because it's the end of August and it's still quite warm. So, you know, you've got to take the temperature around you into consideration when doing these wet on wet surfaces. So all the way down again, and then start adding other shades of yellow, and even you can go into raw siennas, yellow, lemon yellows, all those sort of colours, whatever you've got available on your palette, and even a bit of brown if you wanted to, a little bit of burnt umber or raw umber. That's a nice colour actually. A raw umber is a nice colour, really good for skies. Again, just wash it down, add a bit of orange in again if you want to. I didn't get very much orange there because the orange is very dry, just to sort of give a variety of marks on that sky. I'm just going to put a bit more of that burnt umber into the sky, just little dashes backwards and forwards like that, and then you let that dry again. But in the process you can pick up another circular flat. This one's not so flat, so I'm going to make sure that I've got at least 2 coverings of paper on this. Let's see if it works. It might not work. A bit more fiddly because I've not got a big bit of tissue, but you just need the pressure and hope that it's still wet enough to lift. So ideally, I haven't got any coins in my studio, and that's what I would have used ideally. Oh no, that's not too bad, and it's left quite a nice mark in the middle. That's because it's raised, the surface is beveled there, so you can see where it's made contact with the tissue. And I haven't got any pooling this time, so I'm going to leave that alone. So now you just let these dry, and you can use a hairdryer. So, oh, actually, I didn't show you that. I just realised that I didn't move the camera. So that is the yellow. Let me just straighten that. The yellow one. Sorry about that. You've been listening to me painting and not being able to see what I'm doing. So, like I said, I just put wet surface, yellow, cadmium yellow, and then whatever other yellows you've got, a little bit of burnt umber. This over the top and down onto the surface. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, got carried away with what I was doing. So, like I said, just let it dry off, and you can see that that's not quite dry. I've just put my fingers on there. You can see it's still leaving marks. So I'm just going to quickly give it a quick blast with the hairdryer. So cover your ears just for a second. Okay, so that should be enough. This one will be a little bit damp, but we can certainly get on with things. So now you can do a variety of, I'm just picking up some paint brushes for you to use. You can do a variety of things with these little landscapes. I've got a variety of brushes here, some rigger brushes and a detail brush. But I'm just going to use my Chinese brush, and I'm going to take some Payne's grey and some black, And I'm just going to wet that down and get that quite thick on my brush because I want it to be quite dark along the bottom here. And hopefully that's dry. Yeah, that's dry. You don't have to do two on one piece like I'm doing here. It's up to you, but I'm just going to put a flash of ground across here like that. And again, if you need it to be thicker, just pick up some more pigment, because grey, blacks, dark browns, they tend to sort of dry lighter. So just remember that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my rigger brush and I'm going to go into the same pigment. And I'm going to paint some reeds, some bulrushes actually. So I'm just going to lean on my hand like this and I'm going to start on the land, and I'm just going to take my fine liner or rigger brush and I'm just going to start there, pressing the whole length of the brush down, and then as I come up I'm going to lift the brush up to a tip like that. Press so you get a thick base and then lift and do some small ones like this. Pick up some more pigment. You might want to do some sort of little ones in the background as well. You could do several layers to this, so you could do some sort of finer, less dark marks, and then go in and put some darker marks in, so you get more layers. But I think that's probably enough for me for now. Again, this rigger brush is really great. So if you have a few pennies to spare and you haven't got a rigger brush, go and get yourself one. They're cheap. This is a size 2. They come in all different sizes. And then we've got the bulrush part of it. So I'm just going to take a detail brush, pick up some of that pigment, and then I'm going to paint on my bulrushes. So the bulrushes tend to be a little sort of fat mark like that. Okay, some of them can be quite neat and some of them can be quite sort of shapely depending on how old they are. So if you've got some in your garden, if you've got a pond, go and have a look at them first. See how they grow. You don't have to do many. And vary the size so that it doesn't become repetitive. The size and the shape of these bulrushes. Okay, there we go. And then maybe we can put some little birds on. Now, if you're not confident with drawing these birds with a paintbrush, then wait for this to dry and then go and get yourself a pencil and just draw these little bird shapes on. I'm quite confident with painting with a brush, so you know, I'm going for it. And you don't want these birds to be too big or too small. And they're supposed to be clinging onto the bulrushes. So that sort of shape is good. Maybe I'll give him a bit more of a chest, like that, there. And we'll give him a friend. We'll put him up here, I think. you need a fine brush so that you don't get things like the beaks too bulky. But like I said, just go and draw them with a pencil. If you are at all uncertain about getting these looking the right shape, then go and draw them with a pencil. There you go. It's very effective, isn't it? Okay, so that's that one. The next one I'm going to do is going to be a similar sort of thing, but we're just going to use, actually, maybe I've got a balloon scene here, but I've also got these grasses, but maybe I'll send you them and then you can do all three if you want to. So I'm going to go into a burnt umber and I'm going to mix it quite light because I'm going to do a graduated finish. So up a few hills like that. Okay, and then I'm going to put a series of hills on, but I'm going to do them in darker tones. So I'm just going to do that one first and let it dry, but as I'm letting it dry I'm going to paint the things that I wanted to put on there. So this is your subject, but obviously this is wet, so if you want to wait for that to dry and then paint these, then go ahead, but I'm just going to go and do it. Okay, so we're going to do some balloon shapes like this. So again, in the dark colour, mainly because we want them to be in this sort of silhouette. And again, if you feel like you need to draw them first, then do that. I'm going to do someone slightly down here, and I'm going to cover up that mark there, which is quite cumbersome. So you can use your balloons to cover up any mistakes on your sun or moon, whatever you want to make of it. So there we go. So something nice and simple to finish off our last session. And you know, I hope you've enjoyed it, because I certainly have. It's kept me going really through all the things that I've had to go through in the last few months. Okay, so there we go. Now, so the last thing to do on this one, just affected the shape there a bit. Let me just sort that out. Okay, so 2 balloons going off into the distance, hot air balloons, and we're going to put another layer. So not too much water on your brush, just wipe it off on the side of a container before you go into your, I'm using the same colour, but you can darken it if you want to, but I'm just using a thicker variation of the colour that I used up there already, and try and make the shape of the hill different to the one that you did in the distance. So again, all the way down to the bottom like so. I might have to move my camera again because you can't see the bottom bit there. There, okay. So another hill, and then if you want you can put another one in the foreground, and I'm going to do this straight away, which means it will bleed, which is not the best, but I just want to darken the foreground really, so it's not massively important that we have this silhouette. So if you want a silhouette that's got a hard line on it, then just wait for this bit to dry off and then put this darker section on. There. Okay, quite effective little pictures. I'm just going to, again, I'm just going to dry them off really quickly, and then I'm going to pull the masking off. Right, so as I said, if you've got paper that's a bit temperamental or masking tape that's a bit temperamental, use a hairdryer and just put it underneath like this, and it just melts the glue of the masking. And you can reuse this masking. I just put it to one side and I use it again until it's really filthy, and then I throw it away. But it's reusable, it's still sticky enough to create a barrier, so why not use it again for something else? So we've learnt a few things over our year's experience here, but I think this is one of the most valuable. when somebody told me, yeah, just melt the masking tape a little and it won't pull the paper with it, I was like, oh God, why didn't I think about that? There we go. Oops. So there we have it. There is the lovely desert-like silhouette, and there is the evening marsh with a couple of marsh, I don't know what birds you get on the marshes, I don't know, meadow pipit, no, that would be meadows, wouldn't it? I'm trying to think, I do know some marsh birds, but anyway, waffling now. Okay, so have a go at those. I'll send you a couple of different pictures so you can have a go at doing a variety of effects using these techniques of lifting and wetting wet and silhouette. Okay, and goodbye. Hopefully I'll see you face to face in Carmarthen. You can still access my tutorials on YouTube, but they won't be lengthy tutorials, they'll only be short ones. So if you want to carry on as we've been carrying on, then go to Patreon and see what's on offer. See if you fancy it. Just join up for a month and see what happens. Bye for now. Thanks for your support again, and see you at some point. Bye.